And welcome back to Habs Unfiltered, episode 430. I'm your host, Blaine Putvin. I'm joined by both my co hosts this time, Matt Smith
Good evening.
and the incomparable Treg Wilson.
Hello, I'm really here. This isn't just a hologram. So
And I want to apologize to all the ladies. I wasn't recording at the time, but Treg did show up without a shirt
at Matt's request.
at
That's
Matt's
that's
request.
true. That's very true, actually. Sorry, ladies, it was all mine.
I don't think too many will be too worried.
Yes.
Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry you missed it.
Yeah. All right. So before we jump in, I just want to make note of our partners on this show. The BioSteel, you can use the code Habs Unfiltered and get 20% off from BioSteel when you purchase online. By the way, an all Canadian company. As well, No Name Hockey. Use the code Habs10, save 10% on all your purchases online through their store. And also, by the way, an all Canadian company.
And we're
We
all
like to
Canadian
support
hosts.
Canada and all Canadian hosts. We support
Uh,
Canada here.
I mean, Matt's a bit sketch, but I know Matt, Blaine, and I
Yeah,
are all Canadian. I don't know about
that's right.
Matt. So,
Well, Air Force,
yeah, yeah. Well,
he wears powder blue. He must be Canadian.
Yeah.
All right. So this is as we record. It's Thursday night. The Canadians are going to play the Oilers here very soon. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen for the trade deadline. So we're going to get into that in a little bit here. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Jake Evans contract because I feel like that plays heavily into their plans on this deadline. So Treg, you have been on a bit. So why don't you go first? What was your take on that contract?
I think it was a great contract for the Canadians. Like everyone was pushing that he's going to ask for 7 for 4. And it comes out he got what was it 5 for 2.5? Is that what it was, or
Yeah, 2.8 for
2.85.
2.8
4 years.
for 4? So I mean, it's good money wise, it's good length wise. Now I know everyone goes on about value of a 4C, but I think Evans is a little bit more than a 4C. He's a premier penalty killer in the league. I know he was very sought after for this trade deadline. Names like Edmonton, New Jersey, Washington, everyone apparently called Hughes asking about him. Um, I don't think Evans wanted to leave Montreal. I think he was very, you know, I think maybe the market for him was 4 million a year, but I don't think he really cared about the money at all. I think he just wanted to stay. And obviously, because they did an interview with him afterwards, and he pretty much said, "I don't care about that shit. Like I don't care about you know." So good for
people he
him.
talked to people he talked to told him, don't just look at the money, look at the situation, look at the
Yeah,
the entirety of
yeah,
it.
yeah. So I mean, and really, it with the way things have been going lately, I mean, it's a buyer's market because uh, you know everyone's trading everybody, and there's not really a whole lot of except for Tampa, who doesn't care about first round draft picks. Nobody else has really given up a first for anything. There's no big names
uh
really on the move.
no as we talked, someone did just give up a first. It was San Jose got a first
Okay,
for
I know Wallman just Edmonton
yeah,
just acquired Wallman.
yeah.
So, but I'm just looking at the trades here, and it's like a third round pick. But no one big's gone. Brian Dumoulin went for a second. There's no big names going. There's no so far.
Those
I
happened
don't.
earlier on.
Yeah, I don't understand what Pittsburgh did with Nashville. I don't get that trade at all. But
The bunting deal, I don't
yeah,
understand
I
it.
don't know. But I mean, like Montreal. I mean, Evans probably could have fetched Montreal second. Maybe if it was a team like Tampa, a first or three first
Yeah.
or the first for the next 5 years because they don't seem to care about first draft round picks. But I mean, he was going to get a second, and I think Hughes actually wanted to keep him. I think he wanted to have him as his top penalty killer. I mean, Canadians are top 10 in the league in penalty killing right now. Um, so I think it's a great deal for Montreal. I think it's a good deal for Evans. He seems happy. He's where he wants to be, and we got him at a good price.
Well, it was reported that Hughes had a deal in place for Evans in a trade. The team wasn't mentioned, but it was a second and a third. So a second and a third for Evans, that would have been a decent
Yeah,
return.
sure.
But Evans re-signing at what he did, I think works out better because now they don't have to go shopping for a second center on top of the one center they already need to go get.
Well, the big talk here is with the Evans side, and a lot of people say, well, what happens to Beck and Kapanen now? First
Nothing.
of all, I think Beck's a 3C anyway. Beck's replacing Dvorak, not Evans. Um, what Montreal needs is a 2C. And although I see Kapanen tearing up the Swedish Hockey League, I still want to see what he can do over here before I start, claiming he's going to be the. And I mean, it's no different really with Demidov, although I do believe Demidov is going to be an unreal talent. It's the KHL. So let's not get crazy. Yes, he's going to outscore Michkov. Yes, he's going to be 10 times better than Michkov, but let's not get crazy. Being 10 times better than Michkov scored 60 points. So let's not go crazy here.
Well, I mean, he is setting all kinds of records there. So him
Yeah.
showing up in the NHL and then maybe putting up 50 to 60 points is not out of the realm of possibility.
No. And I mean, we're getting into something totally different here, but I just
Yeah.
getting back to the Evans thing. People are saying, "Oh, what are we going to do with our centers? Like, we need, Kapanen's not going to be able to play. Beck's not going to be able to play." Yeah, they are. Now you can either trade one of them in a package for a true 2C, which is what Montreal needs right now, um, and go from there. And I know we'll get into this later, but a lot of people there's a rumor going around saying they give up Mayu, a first round pick and another prospect for certain players, like Cousins and something like that, or O'Reilly. I think his name's got thrown around. Why Montreal would want O'Reilly, I don't know, as a two
Well,
C.
you should ask Matt because we were talking about that before we got on the show, and
Yeah.
Matt's a really big fan.
I do like Ryan O'Reilly. I do like Ryan O'Reilly. But I'll jump in on the Jake Evans thing first.
Okay.
So for the Canadians to draft a player 2014, still within the organization, develop him and turn him from a seventh round pick into, again, a pretty premier bottom six center in the league that is very good at killing penalties. I think that's a pretty good pick back in 2014. The value for the contract, 2.85 mil for 4 years, excellent value, excellent value, especially with the cap going up as much as it's going to. That's going to be pennies on the dollar by the time that kicks in. And jumping in with the comment about Beck and Kapanen and those type of players, people forget that Owen Beck's this is his first year of pro hockey. He's still got lots of game. It left in him. He's still got lots of hockey left into him. If it happens that he's not ready to jump into Dvorak's spot and the Canadians make other deals, he's a top six center in Laval all day, let alone even a top the top center in that team when a guy like say Barry Boulet moves on. Um, they also need to find spots for some of these wingers that are doing well within Laval, like a Joshua Roy. So there's guys that are going to be jumping in. There's spots that are going to have to be made, and I'm happy that they ultimately did sign the player because with the amount of draft picks they have, you can only do so much. They can only stock the shelves so much. We're seeing a lot of before it was kind of like quantity over quality. Now they're getting quality with the picks that they're making, and we're seeing them slowly starting to go get into the fray. Guys like Demidov is going to make a big difference. Lane Hudson, Ryan Bacher's back healthy. We've seen a little bit of Owen back. Like these are all guys that they've done. And you look at some of the top positional players within Jacob Fowler, for instance. Like these are all guys that are on their way. These are all guys that were drafted by the Canadians. However, you can only pick so many because only so many are going to play for your team. And maybe it's time to consider, hey, maybe this second round pick we have, or hey, this second first round pick we have, we can turn that into something to make our team better right now and to support the core players that are playing so well for us right now.
I agree. Like we have, I think we are at the point now, especially with Montreal in the mix. So I think if Montreal wins tonight, they're tied for a wild card spot. I think they're 2 points behind after the Rangers overtime loss and the Ottawa win. Um, but if we're being honest, I don't think Montreal's really a playoff team right now, and the reason being is they don't have that 2C. So unless they go out and grab a 2C at this trade deadline, which I'm not quite sure that's the plan, um, I don't see them staying. You know, they'll stay in the hunt, but I don't see them leapfrogging all those other teams that are kind of
Well, as,
battling
well,
for
as you
that
said
one
earlier,
position.
it's a buyer's market right
It
now,
is, yeah.
and but at the same time, depending on the deal, could be a seller's market as well. Like
Well,
we saw what Yanni Gord and Bjorkstrand got for from Tampa. And I know, yes, it's Tampa. However, you get closer to the end of end of the the trade deadline, and all of a sudden you've got a Brock Nelson, or you've got a Ryan Donato or Braden Shen. Like can't say that a guy like Shen's going to be moving with 3 years left on his deal, but you start showing extra picks, extra prospects, roster players, whatever, it might move the needle enough. So it's, and just as well as I do, teams start getting desperate.
Clearly, Montreal wants guys with term. When they're
mhm.
looking for a centerman, they want someone with
Yeah.
term,
Yeah.
ideally. But I mean, Ken Hughes said it on a sick podcast with Jimmy Murphy that if they were in the mix at trade deadline, they'd be out looking for additional players.
Right.
So it would make sense that they would try at least, some kind of a rental.
Right.
And they do have a ton of picks to use.
Yeah. But
Like they don't need all
anything that's
those
coming out of
picks.
Montreal right now, though, anything that's coming out of Montreal, it's a lot of talks about Armia and Savard. And last night they were talking. Pierre LeBrun was talking about it, and he said
Mm-hmm.
it kind of seems like it's an either or. They don't want to trade both. It's an either or. And then when it comes to making a deal, he and Darren Dreger both brought up that it would be more of a hockey deal. It wouldn't
Well, it
be a
makes
rental or
sense.
it wouldn't be this or that, right? So we know that like if he can make a June deal, if he can make a draft day deal at this point of the season,
Well, what are the odds of that, though? I don't
are
think
Very
the odds on
slim.
that are high.
probably slim.
No.
But the fact that actually accredited media are talking about this means there's
Un-
something there.
Unless, and I'm going to throw this out here, unless they get on the phone with Carolina and see what they can do for Rantanen and then try to sign Rantanen. That's the only thing, because as of right now, Rantanen says he's not saying he won't do a trade and sign with another team,
That's right.
right?
Just needs to be the right fit.
But he doesn't seem interested in signing with
Yeah.
Carolina,
And
right?
before we get into next topic or whatever we're gonna go and get into, with the retention from that trade, Miko Ranton's only making 4.6 million right now.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
a team with some money or a team that has put players on the LTIR until the playoffs, maybe a Florida Panther, maybe
Vegas.
maybe a New Jersey Devil, maybe when Mark Stone gets put on the LTIR at the end of the night, whatever, right? That's going to be into consideration because I'd take a Miko Renton at 4.6 on any team over another good goal scorer like a Brock Besser making 6.65, right? So
The price to get him there would be astronomical, and I don't know if it's worth it to do
I'm not
that.
saying the Canadians. I'm just saying in
Yeah,
general
yeah. Um,
that he could be a player that can be moved.
but back to reality.
Yeah.
You were talking about Savard and Armia as
Yeah.
an either or. There's talk of the Jets being heavily, heavily interested in Savard. Now, what are you going to get for him? Like, is it going to be that much? Is it, let's say it's a second. Is a second round pick worth not having him to help mentor these young guys in this last stretch? Because I think it's worth more to the team in the long run
To keep him around.
to keep him as
Yeah.
opposed to getting another second when they
Right.
already have a bunch over the next couple of years anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well, see, this is the thing, and when you talk about they might make a hockey deal, it depends on what
Yeah,
they get back in the hockey deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So you say it's either Armia or Savard, but no, if they sit there and say, we think we can bring Waugh up and he can play that role of Armia, you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then we're fine getting rid of Armia. Now, when it comes to Savard, it all depends on what they get back. Now, if Reinbacher didn't hurt his knee, I don't think they'd have an issue trading Savard because with the way Reinbacher's playing right now in Laval, if he did that all season, they'd be like, hey, just bring Reinbacher up. He's ready. We'll trade Savard. There's our right side,
Right.
you know. And I mean, and right now, Mayu, we all know Mayu can play in the NHL. No question about it. He's proven it. His defense is just very sus. And
It
that's
is.
why and they have the time. And Montreal right now has the time to say, hey, you're going to go to Laval and work on your defense. We don't need you here right now. We know we can put you here and you're going to succeed as an offensive defenseman, but we want you to succeed as an overall defenseman
Right.
or marginally succeed as an overall defenseman
Yeah.
because we already got a guy here that is going to be learning to play defense in the NHL
Right.
while scoring 60 points.
And in the
You
meantime,
know, so
since Goalies went down, Struble stepped up.
correct.
Right. So
Struble has, and then it brings up the question because they brought this up. They want to trade Mayu, and I'm like, why are we all so quick to trade Mayu? Right hand defense is our weakest point on the team. It's the weak now. Granted, he has some leverage. Like people say, hey, we want a guy like Mayu on our team. Like we want his talent, but you should never trade from a position of weakness, ever. And if Reinbacher's playing the way he is, Mayu keeps his offense up and at least gets a little better on his defense. You can match him up with Gooley. You can match Reinbacher up with Hudson. You can trade Mike Matheson. Mike
right.
Matheson is next year is his last year. You could trade him this trade deadline. You could trade him on the off season
Summer. Yeah.
in the
Right.
summer. Like so, I guess what I'm getting at is Montreal doesn't have to really do anything at this trade deadline
Well,
as of
no,
right now.
because Hughes holds all the cards. The Canadiens are
Yeah,
where he wanted them to be at. They've got
yeah,
a plethora of picks and prospects.
Yeah.
They yes, they do need things, but they don't need them right now. They're not trying to win now.
Yeah.
The entire thing is being in the mix means that they're playing meaningful games and these guys are
Yeah.
learning how to win at a time when they need to
mm,
be able to win. So they're
And
learning
you know what? It's
now.
crazy the talk that we were having prior to the break. It was like this team can't win a fucking game. This team can't do anything. And now all of a sudden they have this rest and relaxation period. And, a lot of these guys probably watched the Four Nations, and a guy like Suzuki, who has played so well since the return, he probably was like, you know what? I should have been on that team. Or, hey, I might not have been on this team, but this is the tryout now for the Olympic team. And he's
Koski
and he's been on fire.
came out and
And
said,
yeah,
I've been playing terrible. That's on
yeah,
me. I got to
yeah,
change my game. And so
that's right.
far, he's a point per game player since the Four Nations. That whole
Agreed.
line's
Yeah,
been
Since the
out of
Four
sight.
Nations, he's gotten 13 points in 5 games.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
Suzuki.
pretty good.
Suzuki, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's all right.
It's okay. Not really a first line center.
He's
Well,
okay.
again, when the cap again, going back to the cap as that goes up season after season, those deals are going to look that much sweeter for the Canadians.
Well, and that's part of what Hughes has been setting himself up for, so he can make these moves coming up, starting this off season, knowing that the cap was probably going to change around here.
Yep.
So he managed the cap in a way that he can manipulate a good outcome for the team starting now. And that's why at this deadline, I'm not seeing him being a seller. I don't think Armia or Savard are probably going to move. Um, if Armia does, that'd be out of the two. I would think Armia is the more likely,
If he does,
based on what you said, Treg.
I'm saying
Yeah,
Winnipeg, LA, Minnesota.
sure. Yeah, LA needs
Yeah.
penalty killers, but do you want to give up your one half of your top penalty killing unit?
Depends
I
on
will say
like I
this.
said, depends on the package coming back. If a team looks at him as a guy that can play up and down the lineup, that can kill penalties, etc., and they're willing to step up, perhaps.
I think
Really
Armia is
depends on the value.
expendable because Josh Anderson has picked his game up in the penalty killing role.
Right.
Are they going to be a little bit weaker on the PK? Yeah, but if you watch their PK, it's played as a team. It's played as a team. There's not one. You know what I mean? Like they play
No,
very well. They play that box very well,
Yeah.
um, and it doesn't really matter who they have on the ice. It's they're being successful. So
We've also
I
seen we've also
oh go
seen
ahead.
Suzuki. Sorry, we've also seen Suzuki out there killing some penalties as well.
Yes.
I
but
know
he
you
No, I
hasn't
don't
been
want
mean
to.
eating up
I
all
know
that
you
ice
don't.
time either.
I know you don't. But he is a top C, right? He can win
He is.
face-offs, and
so. I guess
depending on
we're
what
all in agreement. There's no one calling for Dvorak.
I don't think so.
I didn't see him on.
Dvorak at fifty
I didn't even see
percent,
him on the
maybe.
trade bait board. I didn't even see him on the trade bait board.
I,
I'm
I don't think
Here's the
Dvorak
thing.
has next to zero value. Like you're not going to like he would be a if they were making a hockey deal, he would be a we need to get rid of what $3.5 million to bring this guy in so we
right,
don't have to put price on LTIR and then fucking you
right.
know what I mean? And then
Well, Dvorak at 50% would have some value.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I would say so.
because
yeah,
of he can win the faceoffs. He's good defensively, but I argue that you look at how Anderson and Gallagher played this year, and he's their center.
Yeah,
yeah. I look
that
at
line's
this
been
too.
together for a while.
I think there's interest in Anderson, to be honest with you.
Possibly
Even at his 5.5 million.
for
Because he's
anyone
got
to get
what
moved out of Montreal, they would have to meet the very high asking price that Hughes is going to set on these guys.
But
Right.
Hughes has always been like that. Hughes has always
Yeah,
been, this is what I want, and I'm not making the trade unless I get at least something close to what I want. Right.
yeah.
And if I don't, then I'm just not pulling the trigger. I'm just not doing it. Right.
He's not in a
And
stockpiling picks era anymore.
Yeah.
well, and this is the thing. He's in that little era now where he doesn't really want any more picks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't really want any more picks. I don't need, like, I pretty much almost I got 2 first rounds. I got 47 second rounds. I got, you know
Just
what I
well,
mean? Like,
just next year they have two first, 2 seconds, 3/3.
yeah. So they
So
have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the top 90 picks,
yeah,
96 picks or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I don't think they're keeping all those come.
No, I don't
And
think
I mean,
that. I don't think so either.
and depending on where Montreal and Calgary sit, they're almost going to have back to back picks because
Right.
Montreal and Calgary are right next to each other in the
Yeah.
standings.
So two top picks between say 12 and
I'd say
16.
12 and 16 or
Yeah.
12, at least 12 and 20. Well, no. If they both miss the playoffs, it'd
Yeah.
be between 12 and 16. Yeah.
Right. So
wouldn't be too
You
bad.
know,
Maybe you can trade both to move up to 10, but I significantly doubt anyone's trading a top 10 pick.
I think if they're trading a first, they're getting that second line center that they're getting
Exactly.
someone, they're getting a name player, an NHL established player,
Yeah.
at least a second round center. Because I'll be honest, I don't think Doc's the guy anymore. Doc's too injury prone. He just I love him. I like him. I really think he has the potential, but
when
you
he's
know,
going, he is going.
The
a
fact is
cool
he's not going
breeze
that
and a,
often.
a cool a
That's
cool
the thing.
breeze on a Montreal December, and his knees blow out of his sockets, and he can't walk anymore.
Right.
I
So
think getting a second line center would be helpful for him as well because
Yeah.
you can move him down a line
Yeah.
and the
you
pressure's
can
off.
you can move him to the wing. You can move him wherever you want.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean,
But
because you look at next year, you got our top line is going to be the same. You're going to have Line A and Demidov.
With
You need
somebody.
someone center in
Yep.
those, right? Your third line, you could put Doc there with Newhook and
Anderson.
whoever,
Well,
Anderson,
do you put
or
him
who
there with do
Gallagher or
you,
whoever.
Gallagher and Anderson, right? So, but I think that for that line, obviously for kind of foreshadowing a little bit here and
Yeah.
everything, but the defensive side of the game that Dvorak brings with the faceoffs and everything, I think that'd be better suited for a guy like Owen Beck at this point.
Well, I think
Well, the
this is
thing is
his
Or you know
audition.
what? Or you know what? Hell, even Jake Evans, which we
the
don't
thing
know,
is
because
though
we don't know who
is
else is going to come
Dvorak's your
back.
only left-handed center,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And I know a
Yep.
lot of people go, "Why is Dvorak on the ice in the overtime?" Because he's left-handed up against a right-handed center. That's why they want him to be the opposite. You know what I mean? And as you can see, once they win the draw and have control, he just skates off, and Cole Caulfield comes on.
Yeah.
He's strictly there for the face-off, and I don't understand why people don't
He is
get
good
that.
in faceoffs, though. He
Like
is. He's
he's one of their best.
56.9%.
Yeah, he's. Yeah, I don't know if he's the best though. Is he the best on the team or?
Best
I
on
think
the
he is,
team. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I mean, but Owen Beck, that's his specialty. So once Owen Beck gets used to the NHL,
Yeah.
you kind of have to get. But again, you
Owen Beck's only taken a handful of draws, but he's 57.6% so far.
yeah. So
Pretty good.
Yeah. Taking 35 draws. So,
Yeah, Beck is pretty good. He's always been good on faceoffs,
yeah.
and I think he could fill that role. Like this is his audition.
Yes.
These next
Yes.
few
There's no need to rush. There's no need to rush.
no, no. Um, so overall, I think from the consensus here, all of us are saying they're pretty much staying pat. They might add. Chances are very, very low that they trade anything out from this team. Honestly, because they're pushing for that last playoff spot. Whether they make it or not is irrelevant. The fact that they're actually in this position to do it, that's what counts.
yeah,
Right.
they're exactly where they said at the first of the season they were going to be. We're going to be in the mix. We're not. We would like to make the playoffs, but we're not going to. You know, and Hughes had a plan. I think from the first of the season at the trade deadline. If we're still in the mix, I'm going to have to decide whether I want my own rentals or if I want to go out and make a move. Now, there's no point going out making these big moves to bring these guys in to push these rentals in to push you through the playoffs, knowing odds are we're not there yet. We don't have the goaltending. Our defense is too young. You know what I mean? Like we're not there yet. We're this playoff mixed team. Go there in the off season. We have all this friggin' money left over, or all this money waiting for us. Let's make some big moves in the off season and make this team a playoff team.
Yeah, the only rental I really think would really make a difference would be someone like a Ryan Donato, left-handed center. You know, he can
Yeah.
step into those roles, and uh, you can re-sign him and keep him on for take the Dvorak role away, give it to him. This is a guy who's got over 20 goals this season. Um, Granted, he's playing in a top six role, he's getting the extra ice time, but he's someone who can easily net you 15 goals in a third line role.
Yeah.
So that's someone I can see.
Right.
I know there's people that are looking at the waiver wires and wondering, hey, why don't we pick up some of those guys? But really, the only person there that's worth even noting is Ryan Reeves, because clearly, you know, he's the
Yeah,
greatest
remember.
tough guy ever.
If I would have been on the ice, if I would have
Yeah.
played that game, if I would have, yeah, I'm really good on the mic.
Yeah, good locker room guy.
Jack
You know
guy
what?
wasn't pointing at the scoreboard; he was pointing at the waiver wire.
Yeah, you know what though? They had him out there in Vegas the other day. He led the team stretch, and then the team lost, so they put him on waivers. There, well, you can only stretch so much from the bench, right? So,
All right, so we got a few minutes left. Some final thoughts, Treg.
Yeah, don't be shocked if Montreal does absolutely nothing this trade deadline. Um, it's not like the other ones where they had guys where you're like, oh, you can get a first. Like Savard, you probably could have got a first for him last year. This year, I don't think you will. Um, so don't be shocked. I am in agreement. I don't think Savard's being moved. I think he's too valuable to this team as he is. Montreal's going to try to do their own rentals to go forward for this playoffs. And like I say, if they do get someone, it'll be a filler, just whatever. And I would be shocked if I think Armia is a possibility, and I'm going to throw Anderson's name out there as a possible um, guy that could get traded. That's just me. That's what I got to say. Other than that,
Yeah.
go Canada. Elbows up.
Matt, what about you?
Um, it's been a seasons of ups and downs for the Canadians. You know, the losses, win streak, more losses, and again, like before the Four Nations, we were talking completely different about this. Now you got a team that's on a 5 game win streak, going against the Edmonton Oilers tonight, who have not looked good since the Four Nations. Um, they are struggling, especially their goaltending. So if the Canadians can continue to pick up points and stay in the mix, I don't believe that they're going to make any moves, because this is the team that got them there. They've done the highs, they've done the lows. We see it in the Evans deal. Like there's something that's there. There's something within this team that brings these guys together. I don't believe the team's going to be the same next year. There's going to be some deals that are going to be made. Guys are getting some increases in their contracts, etc. There's going to be new guys coming in. With that being said, it's still an exciting time to be a Canadians fan. We've got some
Camera.
great prospects in the pipeline, and we have a lot of draft picks to dangle or bring in other players, right? So,
Just spin it for me now.
something to look forward to there in the future. And the
Can't
only
say
other
it.
thing I want to say is I want to give a shout out to Come From Away.
Hmm.
What?
Saw the show the other day in Toronto. Fantastic show. And if we're talking about Canadian, we're talking about the East Coast, we're talking about this and that. Go see Come From Away. I know they're going to be in Moncton in May. I already told my mom. And but right now, if you are in Toronto, you can see them at the Royal Alexandra Theater, like I did.
I've seen
Actually,
that play. It's amazing.
It is a
if we're gonna do
fantastic
shout
show.
outs, I want to do a shout out to her name's Kristen. She follows me on Instagram. She follows big fan of the show. I think you guys know who she is. Um, anyway, I just want to say shout out to her. She's been really a good person, asking how my health was and all that stuff while I wasn't on the show and all that kind of stuff. So thanks, Kristen, for being involved and enjoying the show. And I just wanted to give your name a shout out on the show. That's it.
Oh,
That's all I
nice.
got. Since we're doing shadows and you did a stupid goddamn play. Is that why you're all dressed up in your suit?
It was.
You looked amazing, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I guess it's on to me now. And I just want to, just shout out all the other great Montreal Canadiens podcasts that are out there. Go check those out. I mean, obviously listen to us first because we're us. But there's so many other great ones out there. Please go check everybody out. This Habs community has been amazing. Um, yes, go check out the play. I loved it. Um, and I just want to repeat: check out BioSteel, promo code Habs Unfiltered, 20% off there, 10% off at No Name Hockey using the code Habs10. And I just want to thank everybody for sticking by us, for interacting with us, being like it's just like a group of friends. That's how I see this. So again, thank you so much for listening, and remember, if you're talking about it, so are we.